Alright, now we're going to go on to the open-ended questions. This one's kind of interesting, actually. If the xy plane above the circle has a center of hk and the radius is 10, so we need to be aware that these lines right here both have to be 10. And we should know this line is going to be 16. 4 to 20 is 16. And we drop a perpendicular, okay, from an isosceles triangle, it's always going to split the base evenly. So we have 8 and we have 10, which allows us to use the Pythagorean theorem to get this side. 8 squared plus this side squared equals 10 squared. When I do the math, I'm going to get 6. And therefore, how far up am I going above the x-axis? 6. So my k is 6. My x is actually 12, but they're just looking for k, so it's 6. In this problem here, we need to understand that slope is opposite reciprocal. We're given a slope of negative 2/3, so I need to use 3/2 as my slope. So my b, in this case, because my b is going to be my y coordinate, is equal to 3/2 x minus 13. Well, the 13 comes from I'm given the y-intercept, and I need a slope. So my y-intercept, negative 13, and my slope is 3/2, the opposite reciprocal of negative 2/3. Now they want to know what b is. Well, my x is 10, so I can plug 10 in for x, and I'm just solving for b. 3/2 times 10 is 15, and 15 minus 13 is 2. So my b equals 2, and once again, answer what they're asking for. Number 33, when you read through this entire question, essentially what they want is for b negative to represent 1/9 of all negative people. So in this case, my b negative is going to be 2. So 2 over what would give you 1/9? Well, you probably can figure that in your head that it's 18. But even if you can't, it's 1/9 equals 2 over the total. Because if I want the ratio to be 1/9 of b negative to all negatives, well, if I have 2 b negatives, that means the rest of these need to add up to 18. And that's essentially what my proportion is here. But essentially, you just need to get 7 plus 2 plus 1 plus x to equal 18. Well, if x is 8, that would happen. So my x equals 8. In this one, based on the graph above and how many games played, the soccer team scored goals equal to the median number of goals of 29 games. Well, if there are 29 games, game 15 is the median game. Well, 8 games, 1 goal was scored. 9 games, 2 goals were scored. So that's 17 goals or 17 games already. The 15th game is somewhere in this bar graph. So how many games were played where the median amount of games were scored or median amount of goals were scored? It's simply just 9. If I go through the whole thing, the 29th game, there were 7 goals scored. The 28th and 27th game, there were 5 goals scored. The 24th, 25th, and 26th games, 4 goals were scored. And if we back that up another 6, well, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, and 18, those games, 3 goals were scored. But the median game is game 15. Well, 8 games here, and then another 9 games here. That brings us to 17. It brings us over that 15 threshold. So now we need to answer the question that's being asked. How many goals were scored in, how many games did this team score the median amount of goals? The median amount of goals was 2 for a game, and 9 games is where that happened. The next one, Gisela would owe $15,500 in taxes, but that amount is reduced by $2,325. So if you want to know the percentage of reductions over how much she would have owed, it's literally just $2,325 over $15,500, which if you put in your calculator, you get 0.15, which is 15%. So the answer is 15. So you look at this question, this is what she would have owed, $15,500, if she wasn't eligible for any deductions. But she was eligible to reduce that amount of taxes by $2,325. These tax deductions reduce the taxes Giselle owes this year by D%. So what percent of her total amount was in the tax reductions? Well, 2,325 of the 15,500, and that's how we get that percent. Here, the system above has no solutions, which essentially means the lines have to be parallel, which means the lines have to have the same slope. We need to know that these lines that are going to be parallel, because when there's a systems of equations with no solution, that means you have parallel lines. And we know parallel lines have the same slopes. So what I do here to make my life easier is I multiply this everything by 4 for this top line, so I no longer have fractions. 3/4 times 4 is 3, 1/2 times 4 is 2, and 4 times 12 is 48. So now from here I solve for y to get my slope. I subtract 3x, I divide by -2, and my slope is 3/2. I find the same slope right here. We subtract ax on both sides, we divide by -b, so my a over b is my slope, and this slope has to equal this slope. So when they want the value of a over b, it's simply 3/2. Last two, we need to realize here that from this chart here, or this table right here, I guess you could say, based on the information given in the table, how much greater in millions was the median number of international tourist arrivals to the top 9 tourist destinations in 2013 compared to in 2012. And you make sure you round, as they say, here the nearest tenth of a million, so it's got to be to the 10th. In this case, the median number in both years is with Italy. There's 9 countries. Italy is in 5th place in 2012 as well as in 2013. And the difference between them is simply 1.3. It's a pretty basic question. Number 38 is a little bit harder, and it deals with percent change. There was a 13.5% increase in tourism between 2012 and 2011. Now in 2012, it was 24.7 million tourists. 2011 we don't know, so that's X. But what we have to recognize is percent increase is always new minus old divided by old. And since we're going from 2011 to 2012, 2011 is old, 2012 is new. 2012 is 24.7, and we don't know 2011. So new minus old divided by old equals 0.135, which is our percentage, the 13.5% increase. Whenever we have a fraction, we multiply both sides by the denominator to get rid of the fraction. So now we're left with 24.7 minus x equals 0.135x. Add x to both sides. We have 24.7 equals 1.135x, and then we divide by 1.135x on both sides, and we're left with 21.8. Now we got to answer the question. The value of K was the number of international tourist arrivals in Russia was K million more in 2012 than 2011. So K is the difference between 2011 and 2012. The difference is 24.7 minus 21.8, which is 2.9. But they want this to the nearest integer, so the answer has to be 3. Make sure you answer the question they're asking. And that is the open-ended for our SAT Calculator Section 9.